Even though cricket is a non-contact sport, players can and do get injured all the time. And in some cases, they have even turned out to be life-threatening. Yes. But one of the main things which differentiates first-class cricketers from gully cricketers like me is their perseverance and dedication for the sport. And Indian cricket history has been lucky enough to witness some of the most dedicated and passionate players who, despite the injuries, didn't give up and came back much stronger.
It's in the air. It's a six.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Century of Cricket podcast brought to you by IDFC First Bank, and today we will be talking about something I am most scared of: injuries. How did I get this Michael Jackson look? I was cutting my nails and I missed the spot. By the way, did you know that the first time a batsman walked on the pitch wearing a protective headgear was in 1933, almost 200 years after the game was invented? It was the British player by the name of Patsy Hendren, and his wife designed a three-peaked hat with rubber padding to protect him from bouncers and short balls. That was your IDFC first fact, and now back to the episode. The main story I want to talk about, and people should know more about, is the story of the legend Nariman Contractor. But what happened in 1962 shook the entire cricket fraternity. You see, India had gone to West Indies for their tour in 1962, and these were the days when the West Indies were known to have the toughest and most ruthless fast bowling lineup. Many Indian batters fell prey to the deadly fast bowling of the West Indies and faced a lot of injuries. One such bowler was the most ruthless of all, Charlie Griffith. Charlie was known to be crude and impolite on the field. He played the game like he was fighting a war. Before India played a first-class match against Barbados, the then captain of the West Indies, Sir Frank Worrell himself, warned Nari about Charlie and suggested to only face him if Nari was ready to be injured. Words which would soon come to be true. Charlie was a real-life cricket supervillain whose only agenda was to conquer the field by literally eliminating players. When Nari faced Griffith's first ball, it swiftly passed right across the nose and he was taken aback by the pace. He shook his body a little, he ran a few steps on the pitch as he thought he was a little late to react to the ball, blamed himself, recalibrated everything and got ready to face. The next two balls again were bouncers and they went right across him. Then came the ball which brought the entire stadium and the cricket world to a standstill. Griffith delivered his ball with the pace of a bullet, leaving a pistol, and before Nari could decide whether to get out of the way or face the ball or play the pull, the ball came right at his face and hit Nari on his skull. Nari, after this incident, spent around 6 to 7 days in a coma and was fighting for his life. Things got even worse when the staff at the hospital didn't check up on Nari at the right time to inform the doctor about his condition, which left Nari vomiting and the left side of his body temporarily paralyzed. Luckily, Ghulam Ahmed, India's team manager back then, came to visit Nari and noticed it and immediately called the doctor. If Ghulam hadn't come to check up on him at that exact point and informed the doctor, Nari, I don't want to say it, may not have survived. But the worst was over for Nari as he slowly recovered and came back to his senses, but this near-death experience left the entire Indian team traumatized. But what makes Nari a spectacular cricket player is his sportsmanship. Griffith, who was embarrassed, ashamed, apologetic, and obviously feeling horrible about everything, had gone to visit Nari in the hospital while he was recovering and met his wife there. Griffith met Nari's wife, who told him that Nari didn't blame Charlie for his injury. He blamed himself for not ducking at the right time and for missing the line of the ball. Now that is some real gangster stuff right there. After the successful completion of his surgery, Nari thought he would never be able to play cricket again, but to his and everyone's surprise, the doctors told him to play, to keep himself active. And 10 months later, he was on the pitch, batting again. He played first-class cricket for almost 2 decades and scored 8,611 runs and scored 22 centuries. So the next time you wake up with a minor headache and decide to not do the thing that you've been stalling for so long, just watch this episode instead and let the power of Nariman Contractor inspire you. Before we sign off, a quick warning from IDFC First Bank about ATM frauds. Now apparently there's a device that can copy debit card details once inserted in the slot, and the PIN can also be captured through this device. So please be safe, be aware of your surroundings. When you enter that ATM, have a quick look at the machine to check if you see any strange device connected to the machine. Oh, and as a general practice, whenever you use an ATM, do not leave till the screen says transaction complete. Thank you. Thank you. And that brings us to the end of this insane story. Well, not insane, but amazing story in a sense of the legend of Nariman Contractor. And this episode of the Century of Cricket podcast brought to you by IDFC First Bank. And I will see you in the next one.